There, the numbers are ticking. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Vicki, I'll let you watch the numbers tick and then you just start whenever you're ready.
Okay. Well, welcome everyone. We're just going to wait a minute or two more and let other people come in. Thanks for coming to hang out with us on a Monday afternoon. Hey, Hassan, thanks for the little chat notice there. That's pretty cool. All right, well, welcome to the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, USDA's RFA announcement and technical assistance webinar for the program A1531, Biorefining and Biomanufacturing. An abbreviated version of this went to the Agricultural Systems and Technology webinar, but we decided we were going to do one specific to our program. The webinar is being recorded, so make sure that your microphone is muted so we don't record whatever's happening with your pets or something like that. If you're having difficulty with Zoom, please call this technical support number of 1-888-799-0125, option 2. Throughout the presentation, we ask that you type your questions in the Q&A box rather than the chat. The Q&A is preserved for the record, and sometimes the chat gets overwhelming. This is the USDA's non-discrimination statement with a QR code directing you to the full statement online. The upshot of this is that the USDA is an equal opportunity provider, employer, and lender. For your introductions, this is your program team. I'll ask each of them to introduce themselves, to come off mute and introduce themselves. But I am Vicki Finkenstadt. I am the National Program Leader. I am Institute for Bioenergy, Climate, and the Environment. And I am a 50-year-old woman with brown hair and a yellow shirt. I've been with the program for, this is going to be my 5th cycle. So I'm really settling in, and I'll turn it over to Rachel.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rachel Seaman-Varner. I'm also a national program leader. I'm working on this program with Vicki. I'm a new NIFA NPL. This is my first year with the agency, and I'm in the Institute for Food Production and Sustainability in the Division of Agricultural Systems. And I'll pass it to Gami.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Gami Shrestha. I'm also a co-lead with Vicki on this program. I'm a national program leader with the Division of Agricultural Systems in the Institute for Food Production and Sustainability. And I'm I'm not going to identify my age, but I'm a dark-haired woman. I don't wear glasses, and I'm very happy to be here with you.
And good afternoon. My name is Lynn Elliston Giddings. A lot of you may have already worked with me. I am the token social scientist in the group. I'm a social science program specialist with the Institute of Food Production and Sustainability, and I support this program among others. We are doing a little movement of our emails to correct them, and I think we're good to go now.
Don't let Lynn kid you. She is the person who makes everything go in this program. So many of the times she'll be your contact for any kind of technical details, while I'm the subject matter expert. The topics we will cover is a brief NIFA overview, a program overview, a request for applications details, we'll call out some of the details in that very large document, the proposal evaluation process, and any additional information and resources that we have that could help you submit a fundable proposal. The National Institute of Food and Agriculture is the extramural science funding agency within the USDA's Research, Education, and Economics mission area. I spent 20-some years over in the Agricultural Research Service before I transferred over here to NIFA. ARS is the internal research arm of the USDA. NIFA invests in and supports initiatives that ensure long-term viability of agriculture in all its forms. We also provide funding and strategic leadership for programs that ensure that groundbreaking discoveries in agriculture-related sciences and technologies reach the people who can put them into practice. This very busy slide has all the different types of topics that are current in NIFA. We usually come in under advanced technologies. We do come in a little bit on the economy, farming and ranching, and there's a few other things that we deal with, environment and so on. We'll give you the URL, the website of the entire NIFA funding program later on in this presentation. Eligibility for A1531, you'll hear us talk about the program codes A1531 rather than saying biorefining and biomanufacturing, so it's a little shortcut for us. The eligibility for this program located on page 121 of the RFA is state agricultural experiment stations, which are usually at the land-grant universities, colleges and universities, including the 1862, 1890, and 1994 land-grant and non-land-grant universities. We also accept proposals from vocational training and associate degree or higher institutions, so community colleges, et cetera. In fact, one of our awardees for this past cycle was a tribal college. Research institutions, foundations, and organizations. So a lot of universities have a research foundation, and they submit grants on behalf of the university. Federal agencies and national laboratories. I was a grant holder when I was in ARS. I received a NIFA grant. Private organizations or corporations, including those small businesses. Individuals who are US citizens, nationals, or permanent residents. These are the project and grant types that NIFA offers. In project types, we offer research, education, extension, and integrated. Integrated means two of those three. For this program, however, we only accept basically research-only project types. The grant types are standard, strengthening, new investigator, and conferences. There's a few others in there that I'll talk about. Standard grants, I'm going to get ahead of my slide, so let's just go along here. Conferences, we do offer conference grants year-round. Usually the money, though, is spent early in the year, so if you're going to submit a conference proposal, earlier is better in the fiscal year. It requires a letter of intent that must be submitted 195 days before the proposed conference start date. So that's 6 months. You have to email the LOI to me for the program area 1531. After you submit the LOI, we'll either invite you to submit a full proposal or say no, or perhaps refer it to a different program. A full proposal must be submitted 150 days before the proposed conference start date. It is submitted through grants.gov with an email to the NPL and, NPL's National Program Leader, PS is Program Specialist, so that we can retrieve it from grants.gov. The due date listed in the RFA does not apply to those conference grant applications. We accept them year-round. There is a spot here in the RFA that causes a lot of misunderstandings. Cost sharing or matching is not required for this program. A matching non-federal funds is only required if the proposals are submitted under the Commodity Board program, which is part of this RFA. Equipment grants, we do offer equipment grants up to $50,000. So if you're requesting 50, you have to match 50 with non-federal dollars. And any equipment within the proposal, we do fund some equipment, but if it's over 50,000, just like an equipment grant, you need to have matching funds. So this is the description of the program. It's located on page 69 to 71 of the RFA. The application deadline is October 3rd, 2024. That's in the new fiscal year at 5 p.m. Eastern time, not 5:01. We're very strict about late applications. So don't wait until 4:59 p.m. Eastern time and hit submit, because there might be a delay in that. Seed grants are $300,000. They are single purpose, designed to give a new investigator or a really innovative idea funds to be able to collect preliminary data and demonstrate feasibility, leading to a standard full grant. The standard grants are $650,000, and we also offer a partnership grant of $800,000. Partnerships require significant collaboration with minority-serving institutions, the 1890s, the 1994 tribals, Hispanic serving, small to mid-sized institutions, EPSCoR states, and/or international partners. The minority-serving institution that qualifies this can be the primary institution with a partnership to a non-minority, like a land-grant university or something like that. As long as one of the partners belongs to these categories, you're eligible for the partnership. We do not have a limit on proposals per institution. We do not have a limit on awards per institution. And technically, we do not have a restriction on multiple proposals from the same PI, same team, same co-PD, et cetera. However, we recommend that you really work on one proposal. It's not a trivial exercise, but it won't be counted against you. The biorefining, biomanufacturing, I think it was 4 years ago, we changed the name from bioprocessing and bioconversion to biorefining and biomanufacturing to better reflect the national priorities. We consider a biorefinery as a system that integrates biomass conversion, processes, and equipment to manufacture biofuels, chemicals, and bioproducts. The program priority focus on converting, treating, processing, refining, or manufacturing products to utilize plant, animal, and woody biomass. Generally, the applications must have a significant engineering component. In the context of this program, engineering is defined as the application of engineering principles and tools to biological systems or materials to create usable, tangible, economically viable products and manufacturing technology of practices. So one of the uptakes we're seeing in this program is the use of mixed municipal waste and plastics. Now, plastics are not considered a biomass unless they've come from, some of the renewably sourced plastics. However, if you're using a biological process to convert the commercial plastics, that is a legitimate project for this program. This is not an inclusive list. It's not limited to this, but this gives you an idea of the types of projects we see. Improving or expanding the production efficiency and capacity of biomass, biofuels, chemical feedstocks, renewable energy, bio-based products. Improve or expand the utilization of waste and byproducts that are generated in both agriculture and food systems. We want to engineer those new and improved products and processes that utilize materials from agricultural or microorganisms. This is including, but not limited to, the production of bioplastics and biocomposites. We also accept proposals that address the long-term sustainability of biorefining or biomanufacturing systems that balance productivity along with positive economic, environmental, and social outcomes, including the application of the circular bioeconomy principles, the life cycle analyses, and the techno-economic assessment. And in fact, Lynn, I believe that we awarded a project that dealt with the life cycle of a certain chemical, a certain commodity in a certain chemical system. So
We did.
yes. And we also, oh, I'm sorry, last one there, sorry. Identify those socio-economic factors that either constrain or encourage the acceptance of engineered products and biomanufacturing processes in the marketplace. I can tell you from experience that technology, materials that I developed with the ARS 20 years ago, it took 15 years to get onto the market, to get consumer acceptance of it. And so identifying those types of factors also helps us, and it helps us build more and better life cycle analyses and techno-economic assessments. We put this slide in here. Many of you, if you've had a consultation with me, hear me talk about these types of things. These are the national policy goals associated with biorefining and biomanufacturing. The first was in 2021, which was the executive order on advancing biotechnology and biomanufacturing innovation for sustainable, safe, and secure American bioeconomy. We actually got to contribute to this as subject matter experts, and we worked really, really hard to get the biomanufacturing piece in here, as it really includes not just biotech. The USDA has a bioeconomy document that might serve as some inspiration for you. The U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis developed a national measure for the economic contributions of the bioeconomy. If you're developing a certain product, you might find some numbers in there that might help justify the research. The other big one is the bold goals for the U.S. biotechnology and biomanufacturing, harnessing research and development to further societal goals. That came out a year after the executive order. And in the bold goals, if you look in them, they have two that are particularly interesting to biomanufacturing and biorefining. One is the production of chemical feedstocks, those intermediate chemicals that once we break down and convert and treat the biomass, gives us those chemical platforms that allow us to build all sorts of other products. The other one of note is the bioplastic one, where there's an aspirational goal of replacing 30% of both chemical feedstocks and bioplastics and plastic materials by a certain, I think it's 15 years from now. And that means that we now have to start funding the things that are going to get us to these national policy goals. Some more information, the Congressional Research Service has a bioeconomy primer. I believe that is actually from 2018, but that's what Congress reads, and the Congress staffers and things like that, they read that. And then there's also something that was a joint interagency collaboration for the Bioeconomy Initiative Implementation Framework, which is codenamed Biomass Board. But it also is dealing with how to implement our national policy goals. So a little bit, so we're going to switch from the science to the application and the paperwork associated with this. On the RFA, it's located on page 126, 127. The key components of your application are the project summary and abstract, the project narrative, a bibliography or reference list, a data management plan, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, budget justifications, and a bunch of other documents that you can attach to the application. In your project narrative, and here is a nice QR code that references that link down at the bottom of the page, which is the AFRI Foundational Applied Science RFA. That's this RFA. Additional information for Part 4.C. It's amazing when they start going subparagraph 6, things like that, but you don't have to worry about that. So in there are some of the guidelines for formatting of this. And we really do mean, if there's 18-page limit, we really mean 18 pages in PDF format. Okay, so if it's 18 pages in Word and you convert it to PDF and it's 19, it'll get kicked out. Single line spacing is appropriate, a 12-point, usually Times New Roman font. It includes the text, the figures, and the tables. For seed grants, those 18-page limit is for standard and partnerships. Seed grants are only 7 pages. So seed grants really are about one single idea and whether or not you can do it or not. It can be high risk, high research, or it can be designed to do preliminary information. The project narrative, once again, a full list of everything is in this link, but the project narrative may include a table of contents, maybe, an introduction, the goals and objectives, approach and methods, deliverables, project timeline, the roles and responsibilities of the people staffing this project. You don't want a reviewer to say, I don't understand how they're going to do this, or I don't understand what they're going to get out of it at the end of the project. So concentrate on what your deliverables are as well. The data management plan, here is a link here, and we're going to make a PDF copy of these slides and send them out by request. The data management plan must be included. It's up to 2 pages. It doesn't count towards your narrative. It has to include things like the expected data type, data format, storage and preservation, data sharing, protection, and public access, roles and responsibilities. Who's going to make sure that this is preserved if somebody retires or leaves the university, what happens to their notebooks and things like that. If you're going to follow your university data management plan, don't just put, we're going to follow the university's data management plan. You have to give us an idea. You got 2 pages to give us an idea of what that looks like. The application submission. NIFA only accepts electronic submission of applications through grants.gov. Don't send it to me. It doesn't get into the system. It has to go through grants.gov. They must be in PDF format. If they're not in PDF format, grants.gov and NIFA may or may not receive those documents, and you don't get a second chance. The NIFA grants application guide is available at this link here. It has a lot of information associated with how to navigate grants.gov. I already said NIFA does not accept anything but PDF. Don't send us a spreadsheet, right? Don't send us, additional qualifying information in some other format. Don't do it. It's all PDF. For our evaluation process, this is on page 130, and a further review guide is available on the website there. Basically, after the submission date, we review them for administrative acceptability. Then once we accept them, we transfer them to our system, which this is Lynn. When I say we, I actually mean Lynn. We transfer them to our systems and we review them. And we assemble a review board, a review panel based on the subject matter of the proposals themselves. And as you can see from the description of the program, we go everything from molecular biology and genetic engineering to material science. All right, so we make sure that we have the experts that we need for all subject matter. You'll get at least 3 reviewers with expertise in the proposed topic. The reviewers produce individual reviews of each proposal without looking at the other reviewers' comments. So they have to submit their review, and then toward the panel date, they'll be able to see the other reviewers. They evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of the proposal. Once we once we have all the written reviews and we hold panel. For those of you who are on my reviewer list, thank you very much for serving. You know that we have the panel in January. It's not a big secret here. So that's when we hold the panel, the review panels. These written reviews begin the panel discussions where the 3 reviewers introduce the proposal and talk about the strengths and weaknesses. And then the entire review team looks at it and determines whether or not they come to consensus, and we determine where it ranks in the against each other. So we basically develop a preferential ranking order based on the consensus of the panel. And everybody has access to the reviews as well and the proposals, so they can read them as well. Frequently, Lynn and I and our panel manager, we will call out specific reviewers to look at a specific proposal if for some reason we think that the 3 reviewers may not have, maybe not weren't the best subject matter experts for it. We see very specific things sometimes. And so we ask either another reviewer to look at it, or we'll do an ad hoc review to make sure that everything gets a fair shake during our review process. And then from the final rating and ranking, I develop my funding recommendation list, and then we put it up for approval up the chain of command. The evaluation criteria is briefly listed on 131 of the RFA. The peer review process for competitive grant applications is listed below. We look at the merit. Scientific merit trumps everything in this. We look at the merit of the application for research. We don't do education or extension here, so just research. We look at the qualifications of the project personnel, the adequacy of the facilities, and the project management. We look at the project relevance to the sustainability of U.S. agriculture and program priorities. The timeline for competitive programs is generally about like this. We release the RFA, get 1 to 2 months, and then the proposal is due. We actually released this RFA back in March, so you got a lot more time to think about what you would like to propose. The proposals are due October 3rd. Yes, Lynn, thank you. October 3rd of this year. Once we receive it, it goes under peer review for 2 to 3 months. In this case, it is 3 months. And then we hold our review panel, and then we finalize awards. Many of you who have submitted to this program before know that last year we had a big budget delay because we did not receive our appropriations until March. And so notifications didn't go out until May. And so the money was late this year for awarded projects. We don't know what's going to happen this year. So just keep in mind that this timeline is our aspirational timeline, assuming that we have the appropriations. All right, it's a little bit of additional information. This is one of the things that AFRI, the program this RFA is under, Agricultural and Food Research Initiative, they are redefining project directors, co-PDs, co-PIs, and senior key staff. And I'll explain why they're doing this. We're doing this because the project director and co-PDs must be American citizens because they have the legal responsibility to the project. Co-investigators and senior key personnel do not need to be American citizens or nationals or permanent residents. Okay, so the project director is the head honcho. He or she is legally responsible, along with the university or the institution, is legally responsible for the management, progress, and completion of the project, and ensuring that the project funds are used to accomplish those project objectives. The PD submits the reports to NIFA periodically and communicates with the NPL. And for nomenclature reasons, the project director has also been historically known as the principal investigator. A co-project director or co-PD is someone who could assume the PD's responsibilities if the PD steps out of that role prior to the completion of the project term. It's important to note that NIFA makes awards to the institutions and not individuals. So if your co-PD is at another university, they cannot assume the responsibilities of the PD because we would have to transfer the award to a new institution. And let me tell you, that is a lot of paperwork to do so. It's not impossible, but it is much easier if a co-PD is at the same institution. What we do then is that what have been traditionally known as co-PDs in our paperwork for the application, we are transitioning them to co-investigators. And co-investigators have main responsibility for achieving specific objectives, just like you would reach in the co-PD. Now that we're calling them co-investigators. Co-investigators are senior key personnel. And in the budget, you will see the senior key personnel line items for the budget. So the co-investigators are then cooperators who have main responsibility for achieving specific objectives of the project. So they're just like co-PDs, except that they cannot serve as the PD. So basically, co-investigator and the old definition of co-PD are the same thing. And for the budget-wise, then we would put in, the budget goes into senior key personnel. Yeah, so I'm sorry, could you go back? I think I said that the CI goes into the senior key personnel budget lines, yeah. While we don't require CVs or bio sketches of the co-investigators, since we're transitioning, you probably should include those as your documents, just like you would if they had been co-PDs, because the review panel evaluates the strength of your team. And you have to have somebody responsible for each objective, right? Someone has to be able to do it. And so definitely include brief biographies, just like you would for your PDs and co-PDs. If you really want, you can read the authorizing language of this at 7 CFR 3430.2. There's also the report user guide, which is for PDs when they're submitting. We use report to submit annual reports. I'd also like to call your attention to graduate student and postdoctoral fellowships. The RFA is not in the foundational applied sciences, so which is where A1531 sits. This is in the Education and Workforce Development RFA, which is on the main page of AFRI along with Sustainable Agricultural Systems. In this RFA, on page 25 to 30, are postdoctoral fellows and pre-doctoral fellows. They both have to be American citizens, though. So there is a limitation on this as well, just like if you were a PD or co-PD. The codes under the Education and Workforce Development RFA is 7201 for postdoc and 7101 for pre-docs. When you're filling out your application, you put in our code. So you say this pre-doc or postdoc is coming under the program Biorefining and Biomanufacturing A1531. That helps the people who are screening these proposals to put it into the right program for merit review. Postdoctoral fellows are $225,000 for approximately 2 years. And in this case, the postdoc is the project director. The mentor host is the co-PD on these. They are due quite quickly on September 5th. Pre-doctoral fellows are doctoral students. So they're graduate students who have been accepted into a doctoral program. It is $60,000 per year for 3 years for $180,000 total. They are due October 24th of this year. For those of you who know me, and you'll get to know me, last year we had exactly 0 applications for both pre-doc and postdoc. We had a couple latecomers that came in late and we funded those, but the average funding rate for pre-doc and postdoctoral fellowships as a whole through the entire AFRI program was a little bit less than 50%. So it's a good source, a good probability, assuming you have a good project and a good mentoring plan and things like that, that it might get funded. So just call our attention to it by putting in our code 1531. Here is our new / old system. Instead of using the CRISP project research system, which is understandably 1990s clunky, we use what's called an enterprise search. And here's the QR code. The enterprise search can be used to find funded awards through the entire USDA. And so you can search, you can limit the fields, you can search for lots of terms, and there's a whole bunch of different types of search options to narrow your search down. If you go to the advanced search, you'll see this. Yep, there you go, circled in the middle there. You can select program code if you just want to see what we funded in biorefining and biomanufacturing over the last 10 years. You can put in other codes, or you could put in keywords as well and see what other types of programs are funding your topic. This is the next to last slide, I believe. We do have events calendars for upcoming deadlines, meetings, and webinars at NIFA/events. And we also have the upcoming RFA calendar, which allows us to project when we think the RFA should be released. And for all of you, we are rewriting our RFAs this year for FY 26-27. Or 25-26. So that means that we issue 2-year RFAs. And so that means definitely look up the RFA for next cycle, because it might have some changes to it, including program priorities. So here are some grant resources. Again, we'll make these links available to you. You can look at all funding opportunities in NIFA. You can look only at competitive grants. The request for applications resources has a bunch of information, including review criteria and application guides. NIFA also offers grant training and technical assistance through that website. We also have our policy guide, which includes the terms and conditions of the awards, and indirect costs. For most universities, the indirect costs are capped at 30%, but there are negotiations associated with your institution, which may lower or raise that depending. So let's open this up to questions. Again, these are your fearless program leaders here.
Okay, Vic, we have one in the Q&A, and it is, would a postdoc with a permanent residency application pending be eligible for funding?
Probably not, because we don't know when citizenship or residency is granted. And so we can't hold an award, right? So, so I would probably say no. Does anybody feel free to chime in? Yami and Rachel.
I would lean towards where you're going with that, Vicki.
Yeah.
Until it's a done deal, it can't be.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Our next question is from David. It was in the chat. I'm going to allow David to talk. Since it's a smaller group, I don't have a problem letting people off of mute. So I'm clicked you allowed to talk, David. All you have to do is unmute yourself. There you go.
I did. Thank you very much. So what I'm trying to find out is about strategic aviation fuel. Is the US NIFA program the best program to come to for securing funding? Or is there another grant program out there? Or is there an opportunity for USDA to back a request for funding for starting a facility?
So Sustainable Aviation Fuel is a national grand challenge right now led by the Department of Energy, and the USDA has a small piece of that. We do fund novel processes and biocatalysis and things like that that lead to conversion into sustainable aviation fuel in this program. For small businesses, we do offer a small business innovative research grant over in SBIR, which is biofuels and bio-based products. But that's phase 1 is 175,000 and phase 2 is 650,000, I believe. And but that's for research more than anything and commercialization. If you're looking to build something, a significant, like a demonstration pilot plant type thing, the Department of Energy is a better source of funding.
Very good. That answers my question, because the process is already patented. It's looking for funding for facility initiation.
Yep, that would be the Department of Energy. I forget what it's called, but it is BETO, BETO is the division that handles bioenergy. And I believe it's leading the sustainable aviation fuel.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Our next question is going to be from Chang. I'll let you talk. There you go. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah. Thank you. I have actually two questions. One is about the partnership. Should small or medium-sized institution be the lead institute for the partnership, or just a participating institution is fine?
Either one, you can be the lead. You can be the lead institution if that is the lead institution is the one that holds the money and then makes the sub-awards, or you can be the collaborator with a sub-award from your partner.
And my second question is about 18-page project narratives. Does it include response to the reviewers' comment from the previous year, or it is excluding that page?
No, if you submitted last year or the year before, you have a 1-page extra for response to reviewers.
Okay,
it doesn't
thank you.
count.
Thank you, Chang. The next question, Vicky, is going to be from Hassan. Hassan, please come off of mute.
Hi, I have a question. I am a Canadian citizen, but I am working as an assistant research professor in Auburn University from this January. So I have a TD visa, which is basically a work visa between US and Canada. I also apply for a NIW Green Card program, which is the first stage is already approved, and I am waiting for the next stage. So my question is that should I be eligible to apply for this program or not?
I don't think you can be the project director. I think that you can be a co-PI and have someone else serve as the project director.
Okay. But I can't be PD, right?
I believe you cannot be PD, right?
Okay, thank you so much.
We're going to check that. We'll check that for you and make sure that that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Also, I've added a link to Vicky's office hours for more specific, if you have more specific questions that this medium
thank you.
might suit, you can click that link. It's in the chat for everyone, and you can set up office hours with Vicky to answer very specific questions.
Yep, if you'd like to, sorry, if you'd like to set up a consultation with me, send me a 1-pager by email before it, and then I'll have better information for you once we meet. So.
Mhm.
I am not seeing any more questions in the chat or the Q&A.
Should I ask another question?
Sure, go ahead.
I read actually information about this grant. I realized that there is a kind of international collaboration with Ireland. I mean that the Irish scientist, which is basically extra 150,000 USD. So we have another international collaboration with a famous group in Spain, which is basically a very famous group in my work. And I'm wondering to know, is it possible actually to consider them as a kind of international collaborator, or we only need to find Irish actually partners if we want to consider this part?
So a collaborator, an international collaboration would come under our partnership grants. So 800,000 international partners are there. You have to justify why, and I think you have, why you're not doing it in the United States. You know, what's special about Spain? Well, obviously they're the best group to do it. The Ireland and Northern Ireland tripartite partnership is another thing that we offer. It's specific to the United States, Ireland, and Northern Ireland. That requires the proposal to go through the science departments, the government science departments in Ireland, in the Republic of Ireland, and Northern Ireland, then to us. So it takes a while. You know, we're talking about 3 different governments. So it takes a while to get that up and running. And Ireland and Northern Ireland have to agree to fund the project, and then it goes through our process. So that's a very specific program. But an international collaboration can be part of the partnership grant.
So basically we have both of them, you know. I just want to know your idea. We are already working with this famous group in Spain, and we find another partner in Ireland, which is basically supposed to help us in the kind of modeling part of our project. So should we be able to keep both of them, or the portion of money supported, as you said, it's in overall $800,000, right?
Correct.
It should cover both of them, or it should be splitted between them. You know what I mean? I mean that $150,000 should be the money that we should assume that it is for the international collaboration, right?
Right. Your international partner needs at least 150,000. At least you can sub-award more, but the minimum is 150 for the partners.
So if we have 2 international collaboration, we should allocate $300,000 for them, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Keep in mind, I'm sorry, Lynn, I keep interrupting
go
you.
ahead.
I'm sorry. Keep in mind that sending money internationally is a set of headaches as well. So you'll need to consult your university office of sponsored programs, or whoever holds the your authorizing official, to make sure that indeed it is possible to do that.
Okay.
I don't see any hands raised. I don't see anything in the chat. And I don't see anything in the QA. Rachel or Kwame, do you have anything to add? I would like to. There's no requirement here. I just wanted you to have the option.
Oh, it's great to hear all these questions. There's a lot of excitement in the community, so it's great.
Thank you, everyone. I just have another question. Is it possible to access to the recorded file soon after finishing this webinar, or it may take a few days?
Well, I have actually sent the PDF of the slides to the national program leaders already.
Yeah.
So they will be sending them to their networks. And if you would like a copy, you can reach out to any of us and we'll get it to you.
Yeah, PDF also is perfect. I appreciate
The
you.
recording will be available. Our communications department is in charge of that. So they will retrieve the recording from today's webinar. And once they've made sure it's 508 compliant, it will then appear on our website.
Great. I think PDF is perfect.
Okay, great. Yaleen, sorry if I said it wrong. Let me get you off of mute.
Yes, can you hear me? Okay.
Question. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm just actually looking at the RFA, and I'm wondering where can I find the requirements to the PD and co-PDs with regard to the nationality, because I didn't see it like in the RFA, and I want to make sure I can find it somewhere, because like if I want to add this technical webinar, I might submit one, but I'm not eligible with regard to the citizenship at this stage.
I think that it's actually under the terms and conditions.
Oh, okay, I see.
Hold
I'm
on, let
looking.
me, yeah, I might be able to get try this. I'll put it in the chat. Try that link. What also happens with PDs and co-PDs is that we have to conduct a background check as part of our due diligence. And so the more co-PDs you have, the more work there is, the more due diligence there is in terms of that. While co-PIs don't require that extensive background.
Okay, I see. Thank you. I haven't seen a link yet in the chat, unless I'm saying it wrong.
You sent it to us, the panelists, Vic, instead of
Got
everyone.
it. Everyone. I can't send it to everyone.
Oh, I can. I'll take care of it.
Okay. That's
Thank you
because
so much.
you're really the person in charge, Lynn.
Yeah, don't go telling everybody that. All right. Can you see it now?
Yeah, I can see it now. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions? Well, thank you all for your attention and attending today. Vicki, do you have any closing words?
No, I can tell you that I love meeting with people. I am an extrovert in an introverted world now, so I don't mind. That's why I open up my office hours. So if you have simple questions, just send me an email, and I usually respond within a day or two. Sometimes even faster, depending on what my workload is. But if you need to have an extensive conversation, feel free to use that bookings page. It gives you the openings that I have in my schedule for office hours. So.
I'm also going to say unapologetically, if you are choosing to not submit this year or have colleagues who are choosing to not submit this year, we ask that you please consider volunteering to serve on panel. There's a couple of positive things that can come from this. One of which is you get to see behind the curtain at Oz, right? So you get to see how we do things, and it has, I don't know the exact numbers, but I can tell you that if people spend time on panel, they tend to be more successful in their submissions. So I've placed the link to volunteer into the chat, and I will say our system to retrieve those is clunky, is generous, right? So I can only search by your email. So please, if you do decide to serve or to volunteer to potentially serve, shoot me an email and let me know so that I can quickly go in and retrieve your name and you don't get lost in the, we'll call it a database.
Yeah.
We'll say it when we smile, although, yeah. But definitely consider it.
Yes, one of the things that we do is we have one of the larger, we get about 130 proposals each cycle. And our funding rate is a little bit less than 10%, but because of all those proposals, we have 3 different panel dates. So it requires 45 or 50 panelists, reviewers to get through that workload. Not to mention sitting in a 5-day panel to reach consensus on these. And so it makes it hard sometimes to recruit panelists because many of our panelists become applicants and they tell me that they're not available because they've submitted a proposal. So knowing what reviewers look for and how the process is really makes a proposal strong. The other thing we do is we also cycle panelists. So out of 45 reviewers, a third of them will be experienced panelists from the last cycle. A third of them will be people who have sat on panel before or project directors or co-PDs or something like that. And then 1/3 we try to make new people, early career people. We had a postdoc last year sitting on it as we find that very helpful too, but it also lets us always entertain new ideas and new innovations rather than get stuck in our, I was going to say stuck in the past, right? Because the world has changed and technology has changed. So we always make sure we're at state of the art subject matter. So.
David wants to know when the recording of the session will be available to view. That's kind of out of our hands, David. Our communications department, and they're usually really spot on and really great, but I don't know what their workload looks like right now. They're the ones in charge of ensuring that it's 508 compliant, the transcriptions went through and so on and so forth. So they will retrieve it and review it, and then it will be posted on our website. It won't be available for us to send out. That's all I've got, Vic.
All right, Lynn, I just posted to you the where it should end up, where the video should end up.
Got it.
Yep. I think that was the registration site, so. Yep. All right, that leads me to thank everybody. Thanks for hanging with us. Don't be a stranger. We like talking to people. Oh, sorry, I like talking to people. And I look forward to reading your applications. So thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.